At the age of 69, Nancy Kulp revealed the identities of 4 lesbian actresses from old Hollywood whom she had secretly dated. And this story, my friends, is far from simple. Join me as we step into the world of Nancy Kulp, where love, career, and secrets intertwine in an era filled with prejudice. Don't look away, because this tale will surprise you, make you think, and perhaps even move you. First, let's discover who Nancy Kulp was. Born on August 28, 1921, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Nancy Jane Kulp was a bright girl who loved literature and public affairs from a young age. Her low, calm voice and refined demeanor were the hallmarks of an educated woman. Her family moved to Miami, Florida, when she was young, and there, Nancy attended Florida State University, majoring in journalism. She later earned a master's degree in English and French at the University of Miami. Can you see it? In an era when women rarely had access to higher education, Nancy demonstrated remarkable independence and determination. Her education wasn't just the foundation for her career, it shaped her into a sharp-witted woman, always seeking truth and justice. Let's pause for a moment to reflect on this. In the 1930s and 1940s, when society expected women to be homemakers, Nancy chose the path of education and self-reliance. What does this say about her spirit? I think it's courage and a vision ahead of her time. Nancy didn't just learn for knowledge's sake, she used her education to fuel her performances on screen and her efforts to change society later in life. Do you agree that people like Nancy inspire us no matter the era? I believe her persistence is a valuable lesson, reminding us that education and passion can open unimaginable doors. During World War II, Nancy put her studies on hold to serve her country, joining the United States Navy as a lieutenant in the Waves, or women accepted for voluntary emergency service. This was a bold move, as women in the military were rare at the time. Nancy didn't just show patriotism, she broke gender barriers in a field dominated by men. She remained proud of this period for the rest of her life. And it shaped her into a strong woman unafraid of challenges. Did you know that very few Hollywood stars of that era had military experience like Nancy? This made her a unique role model, not only on screen but also in real life. Let's dive deeper into this decision. Nancy joined the Navy during a time of war when the world was in chaos. She could have stayed in school, safe and comfortable, but instead, she stood up for her country. This shows a profound sense of responsibility and rare courage. In an era when women were often seen as fragile, Nancy proved they could be just as strong and contribute as much as men. Have you ever met someone in your life who made quiet sacrifices for a greater cause like this? I think stories like Nancy's remind us that patriotism and dedication know no gender or circumstance. By the early 1950s, Nancy entered the entertainment industry, initially working in public relations for a film studio before transitioning to acting. With her tall, angular frame, distinctive voice, and sharp presence, she quickly stood out. Small but memorable roles in films like Shane in 1953, Sabrina in 1954, and A Star is Born in the same year brought her name to audiences. Nancy often played quirky, intelligent characters, always bringing depth and warmth. Do you remember those captivating supporting roles? That was Nancy Kulp's talent, commanding attention even with just a few minutes on screen. Let's analyze Nancy's talent more closely. In an industry where female stars were often forced into glamorous or innocent molds, Nancy chose a different path. She brought intelligence, humor, and a touch of eccentricity, making her unforgettable. This shows she knew her worth, not needing to be the center of attention to shine. Moreover, her ability to turn small roles into highlights was a true art. Do you think supporting actors like Nancy are sometimes more important than the leads in storytelling? I believe that roles like hers added richness to classic Hollywood, creating a vibrant and diverse tapestry. The life-changing moment came in 1962 when Nancy was cast as Miss Jane Hathaway in The Beverly Hillbillies. This show, my friends, was a cultural phenomenon running from 1962 to 1971. The role of Miss Jane, the sharp-witted but lovelorn secretary to banker Milburn Drysdale, became iconic. Nancy brought subtle humor, perfect timing, and a touch of endearing naivety as Miss Jane pined for Jethro Bodine. Audiences adored her, and the role earned her an Emmy nomination in 1967. Has anyone here laughed at Miss Jane's interactions with the Clampett family? Share your memories of the show with me. But The Beverly Hillbillies wasn't just about laughs. Behind the scenes, Nancy faced personal tensions, particularly with her co-star Buddy Ebsen, who played Jed Clampett. Though they worked professionally on set, they clashed deeply off-screen. Nancy, a liberal with a sharp mind and a passion for social justice, often disagreed with Buddy, a stubborn conservative. Their political debates grew heated, and things worsened in 1984 when Nancy decided to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. Picture this: Nancy, with her progressive ideals, was building a campaign focused on education, the environment, and public welfare. But Buddy, who didn't support her views, publicly backed her opponent and criticized her campaign. To Nancy, this felt like a deep betrayal. Their once friendly colleague relationship shattered, and they never reconciled. Despite this, Nancy remained professional, focusing on her work and ideals. What do you think of this conflict? Can personal differences sometimes destroy a relationship, even when both sides mean well? Let's dig deeper into this conflict. The clash between Nancy and Buddy wasn't just personal, it reflected the political polarization in American society at the time. In the 1960s and 1980s, differences between liberals and conservatives weren't just opinions, they became personal divides. Nancy, with her heart set on justice, must have felt hurt when a former colleague turned against her. But her response, staying silent and continuing her path, showed strength and dignity. This reminds us that sometimes the best way to handle conflict is to focus on what truly matters. Have you ever faced a conflict where differing views led to a rift? I think this is a lesson we can all learn from, especially in today's increasingly divided world. Beyond The Beverly Hillbillies, Nancy appeared in numerous TV shows like The Lucy Show, Petticoat Junction, Sanford and Son, and The Love Boat. She also performed on stage and taught acting classes, sharing her passion and knowledge with younger generations. But what truly amazes me is Nancy's bold decision to leave Hollywood in the 1980s to pursue politics. In 1984, she ran as a Democratic candidate for the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania's 9th District, focusing on education, the environment, and public welfare. Though she didn't win, her campaign was a historic milestone. A Hollywood actress, especially a woman, entering politics with fierce conviction, that was no small feat at the time. Let's analyze the significance of this decision. Nancy's candidacy wasn't just a personal act, it was a statement about women's roles in politics. In the 1980s, women still faced significant barriers in positions of power. By stepping up, Nancy inspired others, showing that a woman, whether from Hollywood or elsewhere, could drive change. Though she lost, her campaign paved the way for future generations, and that's a legacy not to be underestimated. Do you think efforts like Nancy's, even if they don't succeed immediately, have lasting value? I believe these pioneering steps shaped the society we have today, and we owe her gratitude for that. Now let's turn to the most mysterious part of the story, Nancy Kulp's personal life. In 1951, she married Charles Malcolm Dicus, a man outside the entertainment industry. In Florida, the marriage lasted 10 years, but as Nancy's acting career soared, the pressures of Hollywood and personal differences led to their divorce in 1961. Afterward, Nancy never remarried, choosing to live single and focus on her career and social causes. But, my friends, that's not the whole story. In her final years, Nancy revealed a secret that stunned many. She had secretly dated 4 prominent actresses from classic Hollywood. In Hollywood's golden age, the pressure to conform to societal norms was immense, especially regarding sexuality. Being a lesbian or bisexual could ruin a career, so Nancy, like many others, lived in secrecy. One of her most notable relationships was with Barbara Stanwyck, the noir icon known for roles in Double Indemnity, Stella Dallas, and Sorry, Wrong Number. In the late 1950s, Nancy and Barbara, 2 intelligent women who loved literature and film, were drawn to each other. Their relationship, according to those close to them, was passionate but restrained by the era's prejudices. Imagine this scene: Nancy and Barbara, on secret trips to Palm Springs or Northern California, could briefly escape the world's prying eyes. But in public, they had to be cautious, using coded language and keeping their distance. Can you feel the tension? Living with love but always hiding it. That was a heavy burden. Nancy once said during an appearance at a women's college, "We can live with half-truths and borrowed time, but the heart knows what it knows." Those words, my friends, feel like a confession of her suppressed love, perhaps for Barbara or someone else. Let's analyze this relationship further. Nancy and Barbara's connection wasn't just a love story. It was a testament to the resilience of lesbian women in a harsh era. Hollywood in the 1950s was a place of contradictions, glamorous on the surface, but rigid underneath. That Nancy and Barbara found each other, even in secret, shows the power of love and empathy. This reminds us that even in the toughest times, people find ways to be true to themselves. Do you think stories like this should be told to honor those who lived courageously? I believe they're a vital part of history, and we must share them so future generations understand the silent sacrifices. Next, Nancy was also rumored to have had a relationship with Marlene Dietrich, the German-American actress famous for her androgynous style and magnetic charm. Marlene, with her masculine suits and open romantic life, was part of a hidden network of actresses who found solace in a harsh industry. Nancy and Marlene may have shared intimate moments, though details are scarce. Think about this. In a world where women were forced into feminine molds, Marlene and Nancy defied those limits, each in her own way. Their connection, however fleeting, is part of Hollywood's underground history. Let's explore Marlene Dietrich further. She wasn't just a star, she was a symbol of personal freedom. In a tightly controlled Hollywood, Marlene lived on her terms, defying prejudice. That she and Nancy may have connected shows that even in difficult circumstances, women found ways to break through barriers and be authentic. This reminds us that personal freedom, though costly, is always worth fighting for. Do you think figures like Marlene and Nancy laid the groundwork for today's openness about sexuality? I believe they helped change how society views diversity. Joan Crawford, another Hollywood icon with a complex personal life, was also mentioned in Nancy's story. Some historians believe Nancy and Joan met in Hollywood's secret circles, where they may have been more than friends. Joan, with her illustrious career but turbulent private life, likely found in Nancy a companion who understood the industry's pressures. Though not fully confirmed, this connection highlights the complexity of relationships in old Hollywood. Finally, there's Tallulah Bankhead, a Broadway and Hollywood star with a larger-than-life personality and a more open romantic life than her era allowed. Tallulah, with her charisma and free-spirited nature, was said to have had a deep relationship with Nancy during Hollywood's secretive years. My friends, these relationships weren't just romantic, they were evidence of an underground community of lesbian women who found comfort and support in each other. Pause and reflect. In an era where being true to oneself could lead to ruin, these women created a safe space for themselves. That's remarkable, isn't it? Let's dive deeper into this underground community. While studios promoted heterosexual love stories on screen, beneath the surface was a network of women like Nancy, Barbara, Marlene, Joan, and Tallulah, living their truths discreetly. These relationships weren't just about love, they were about solidarity and resilience against societal pressures. I think sharing these stories today honors those who paved the way for the openness we have now. Do you agree that this LGBTQ history deserves recognition? I believe stories like Nancy's are an essential part of our cultural legacy, and we must share them to ensure future generations understand the value of resilience. After leaving Hollywood, Nancy moved to a peaceful farm in Connecticut, where she found solace in nature and books. Later, she settled in Palm Springs, California, dedicating herself to charitable work. She was actively involved with the Humane Society of the Desert, advocating for animal rights, and the Desert Theater League, supporting local theater. Nancy also worked with United Cerebral Palsy, raising awareness for people with disabilities. Her commitment to her community is truly admirable, showing the compassionate heart of a woman who once shone on screen. Let's analyze this choice. Leaving Hollywood for a quiet life of service wasn't easy, especially for someone accustomed to the spotlight. But Nancy chose meaning over fame. Her charitable work, from rescuing animals to aiding the disabled, shows she was more than an actress. She was a true changemaker. This reminds us that a person's legacy lies not just in their achievements, but in what they leave behind for the world. Do you think quiet contributions like Nancy's are sometimes more meaningful than fame? I believe these small acts create profound change. Sadly, Nancy's final years were overshadowed by illness. A longtime smoker, she was diagnosed with cancer in 1990. Chemotherapy left her exhausted, but Nancy faced the disease with the strength she always had. By 1991, the cancer had spread, and she passed away on February 3rd at age 69 in Palm Desert, California. Her body was returned to Pennsylvania, where she was laid to rest at Westminster Presbyterian Cemetery in Mifflintown, a peaceful place reflecting her roots. Let's reflect on Nancy's battle with cancer. Despite pain and uncertainty, she maintained her dignity and resilience. Her story also reminds us of the importance of health and the consequences of habits like smoking. But more than that, it shows that even in the darkest moments, people can leave a positive mark. Have you ever seen someone face illness with courage like Nancy's? I think such stories inspire us to cherish life and live fully every day. Nancy Kulp's legacy isn't just her role as Miss Jane Hathaway or her memorable performances. She was a trailblazer, from serving in the Navy to pursuing education, to living true to her love in an era of prejudice. Her story is a testament to resilience, courage, and the power of love, even when it had to be hidden. By sharing this story, I hope you feel not only the mystery of old Hollywood, but also the inspiration of a woman who lived fully. Let's reflect on Nancy's legacy. In a world where women were often confined, she broke every barrier, from education to the military, from acting to politics. Her secret relationships, though hidden, symbolize resilience and love defying prejudice. And her charitable work shows that a meaningful life isn't just about fame, but impact. I believe Nancy's story reminds us that we all, no matter our circumstances, can leave a positive mark. Do you agree that people like Nancy inspire us to live better? Looking back at Nancy's journey, from a book-loving girl in Pennsylvania, she became a Navy lieutenant, a beloved actress, a political activist, and a dedicated philanthropist. Despite facing prejudice, conflict, and illness, she never abandoned her ideals. My friends, that's the definition of a life well lived. I hope this story not only makes you admire Nancy, but also encourages you to think about how you can make a difference in your own life. Is there something in Nancy's story that inspires you to act? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Dear friends, thank you for taking the time to listen to Nancy Kulp's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Leave a comment telling me what you think of Nancy or your memories of the Beverly Hillbillies. We'll meet again in the next video with another story from Hollywood's past. See you soon.